You are listening to Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. Last chapter involved a bit of running, a bit of reading, and a bit of sneaking. It's time to move on to Full of Greed and Hungry for Power. Chapter 11. I want to go home, Alina declared from the couch where she was settling down for her afternoon nap. Rigby tucked a blanket around the big girl and said, I will make the arrangements. Alec didn't want to go home. He couldn't believe Verity wasn't protesting. An hour later, she was still dancing around, gathering things to pack. I want to see my mom. She's the best mom in the whole universe. Alec let fury wrinkle his forehead and cloud his thoughts. Why should I go home just because they want to? What about my free will? His attempt to slam the door was interrupted by Rigby. I thought you were past this. His eyes, fierce and furious, fixed on hers. I'm not afraid of you. Rigby tilted her head and replied, The light will never hurt you. I will never hurt you. Nor will we ever leave you. When he said nothing, she continued. You are ready to go home, Alec. I have seen recognition in your eyes as you begin to know yourself. I see how you are communicating with your spirit. You begin to control yourself. It is time to return to Earth where you can continue to create the person that you want to be. I will remain here, waiting for the next time we get to work together. Her logical words put out the fire that was raging. She was perfect. For 1 second, he wished she could be his mom. He'd actually had that thought many times while he was here, each time struggling to keep it hidden from her. Things will be different for you now because you want them to be. Never forget that you are in control of your life. You cannot change the past, but the present and the future are yours to create. I suggest that you refuse all negativity that you encounter on Earth, including that of family members. He nodded, staring at his feet, his new shoes. With a sigh, he slipped them off. They were returning to Earth without any lapse in time. Being able to keep his memories was little consolation for the loss of his tennis shoes. Rigby studied him. I do not understand your desire for material things. Perhaps you could apply yourself to finding a solution that does not include emotion. Verity skipped in as soon as she left. Shrugging off Rigby's gruff behavior, she said, You know she doesn't like it when we go. Alec grunted. Still chipper, Verity bounced on his bed. You're kind of silly about those shoes. Well, you are, she said, answering the hostile look he shot her. Alina came into the room, studying the duo before her. They will wait right here, she said, picking up the shoes and placing them in the middle of his bed. Alec smiled as he watched her pet his shoes like they were puppies or something. Okay, he told them as he climbed onto the bed. I'm done being grumpy. Verity bounced down beside him, and Alina, refusing any help, climbed onto the bed as well. That's where Rigby found them, sitting in a circle around the tennis shoes, making plans to keep touch on Earth. Before you go, there is someone here who would like to see you. Verity and Alina ran from the room, cheering as they sped down the hallway. Following their noise, Alec found them chattering in the ancient language to an unfamiliar Zambosian. He and Rigby watched from the doorway as each sister climbed onto a knee of this chuckling ape. The Zambosian turned his gaze to Alec, sending his thoughts to all of them as he said, Our routine must be altered, little ones. Where shall we put Alec?" The question made them laugh. It also made Alec feel welcomed into the group. He soon learned that each time the girls went home, they received a visit from this ape. He introduced himself as Nimzala. "You know nothing of me, so I will tell you a few quick facts. I am the leader of the Zambosian race, now of the light. I am 5,627 years old. I have been told that I am an expert storyteller." He winked at Verity as he said this. "There are many kinds of stories, and the one I tell today is true. 2,300 years ago, when I was a newly elected leader, I had a brief encounter with a Nalesh ape. Nalesh is a term chosen to describe ape-like entities who are light. He found me contemplating the purpose of my life, as so many without knowledge of the light do. His story was simple and interesting, and I have remembered it often these past years. He told me of a pendant that was stolen from him. This pendant was rumored to have great powers, which this Nalesh would neither confirm nor deny. The races he mentioned then still exist today. They remain full of greed and hungry for power, just as they were when this story took place, 14,000 years ago. As a young ape, the Nalesh of which I speak began receiving the image of a great weapon. This weapon did not exist beyond his mind, and after several thousand years the Nalesh understood that he was the one who would create such an object. At that time, light entities had no weapons. They were able only to shield themselves for protection. Intent on developing a way for light entities to resist the dark ones, he began searching for the perfect material from which to create his design. In a matter of months, as you count time on Earth, he had selected 4 metals that he thought to combine as one. Unable to create the new element to his satisfaction, his compromise was to use a different metal for each section of the weapon. Once completed, he spent the next several millennia waiting for an image to show him how to use this beautiful weapon. There was no on button, no power source, no turning part. In the end, he decided it was not a weapon after all. This did not change his belief that he had grown along the journey to its completion. The weapon became his work of art, and he wore it on a chain around his neck. His serenity lasted for a long time. However, there were others who still believed the pendant was not as he perceived. The Black Entosh craved its power and plotted to steal it for their own. The Dionics feared what would befall their race should the Black Entosh wield the weapon. Other races, the Mer people and the dragons in particular, also felt that an increase in Entosh power would be devastating. When the Black Entosh succeeded in stealing the pendant, bringing it to their Earth colony for safekeeping, the Dionics quickly attacked. Perhaps they thought it would bring them infinite power. Perhaps, with a powerful weapon of their own, they would no longer be subservient to the Black Entosh. Regardless of their motives, the Dionics tried their best to remove the pendant from Entosh possession. They would have easily lost the battle had not the Mer people and the dragons interfered. Neither were fighting for the Dionics nor with them. Quite simply, they did not want the Entosh to have the power of the pendant at their disposal. It must be noted that not one of these races knew what the pendant could do. No one had foreseen its use. They knew only that it was a powerful force. Its power was a rumor that spread quickly throughout the earth, causing all of its inhabitants to fear the wrath of such a weapon. During the attack, the pendant broke into 4 pieces, and each of the warring races went home with a single piece. Since that time, many wars have been fought to unite the pendant, but the pieces remain today as they have since the first battle, divided between the Dionics, the Merpeople, the Entosh, and the dragons. All this time I have searched for the separate pieces. I have watched the races forget them. The greed and fear that once consumed them over this matter has diminished, and the time has come for the pendant to shine. When Alec awoke, he found himself back in his closet. He had been there long enough to have carpet stamped on his face and a puddle of drool under his chin. Hands swinging like swords, he sliced through shirts and shuffled to bed. Crazy, crazy dream. The cool sheets woke him up, and he was staring at the ceiling when a burst of light lit the darkness. His spirit had flashed its light at him. It takes a lot of energy to do that. It's very special when it happens, Verity had told him. Bringing the light into both his body and his spirit, Alex snuggled down into bed with a smile. It was more than a dream. Refuse everything, he thought he heard Reetby say. Easy, he yawned. I refuse everything and everyone in this house. And I refuse the house, he added, just to be thorough. That was full of greed and hungry for power. Chapter 11, From Out of the Darkness by Clarissa Clarke. We're back on Earth now and heading into Color and Texture and Sunshine. Chapter 12.